Cool. That should be fine now, I think.
Yeah, now it's up.
Awesome.
Woohoo! Oh wait, I'll get to the right screen. I just realized as well. It's probably helpful.
It's doing Omega load minute.
Not a frame lost.
Cool. So,
Okay.
if we're ready to go on both ends, then
Oh
we
wait,
might as well. Oh.
Okay, I'm good. Sorry, apologies.
No problem. Cool. So I guess you ready for a countdown?
Yes, please.
All right.
You got it, Kemi.
In 3, 2, 1, go.
Peace.
Peace.
And we're off. Oh, one sec.
Cool. I'm gonna mute myself now. So have fun.
Nice. All right. Well, we begin. Jack got a pretty big head start on Curtis, are you
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, you're speaking. Okay, cool. Sorry, I was just figuring it out. So now it begins.
SBU probably didn't have to wait for those threads, but he decided to wait.
SBU, I think, is he doing Nintendo on oh yeah, he struggled a little bit on D1E. I think SBU has slightly faster loads, which is gonna probably come in handy for we'll see right now. Day end is always a really easy time to see if there's a catch up. Yeah, I can see SBU catching up like in the mail. Like he was pretty behind, and now they're basically like he's now ahead. Jack
I mean,
he
literally doesn't own a Wii, does he? So, like, this is all that he can do.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, you can see. I mean, Jack is favored. Yeah, but you can look at the.
Yeah,
I
SBU
mean,
is like flying out here.
SBU definitely has a little bit of a race advantage playing on the Wii U. Mr. J has like the same thing a little bit. But you know, I mean, SBU is the underdog, so I mean, I suppose it's acceptable in this case. Oop, he missed the. I think he didn't anticipate that he was gonna punch, and so he threw and then he moved. But then because he didn't actually throw, he punched, and then on the next A press, he threw the red past the pellets, which is a little bit unfortunate. But, you know, Jack is known for his rock steady early game, and so that's something that SBU is going to have to reckon with. But neither of them are going for Louis skip, so at least it's that advantage that Jack doesn't have. I actually don't know Jack's hit rate on Louis skip, though, so I suppose it's an even trade. Oh, that's unfortunate, missing the one shot. It's those small things, and it's pretty clear here when you see that like Jack's already ready to go, where you know those things happening really slow down.
Please do.
Early game.
Not
I wonder
if
if
you're
Jack
actually
realizes that it's faster to get the cutscene just for switching to Louis on day 2, even if you don't go for Louis skip.
Right, because during the lockout afterward, the sprouts can fall. Yeah. He probably just wasn't thinking about. I mean, he probably just was thinking, just don't switch to Louis. Maybe he didn't factor that in. I was gonna say that in day 2, in days 1 through 3, you usually can see a whole bunch of those small mistakes add up. Like SBU, I mean, obviously he's kind of come back from the loads, but SBU took a bit of, you know, lot of time lost just from not getting the Bulborb, you know, one shot and missing some other key stuff. And, you know, I don't know, it really hurts just because in this early game, you know, there isn't a lot of multitasking to do. You know, you have to just, like, kill the Bulborb, collect the Bulborb, etc., etc. And so it's just a little bit of a pain there. SBU takes a bit of a lead in the beginning, but considering that loads really rule the day on like full days, it kind of makes sense that this is probably going to be the biggest advantage that SBU is going to have over Jack. This is actually sort of where we realized that fast Wiis were really, really, really good. It's just by looking at like the first 3 days, because that's where the differences are the largest by a lot. Oh, SBU messed up on that dismiss. It's not being carried just because that dismiss was weird. It's a very dumb mechanic in Pikmin 2 where if a Pikmin can't dismiss to its desired location, it will stand around and basically not cooperate for a certain period of time. And during that time, it can't carry things. It can't attack. It's very annoying. It's not necessarily a glitch dismiss, but it serves the same purpose.
Yeah, Jack basically made up the entire difference from that mistake. By the way, that's why we throw to the first 5 pellet instead of dismissing, because like even though it barely matters, like you don't want to make a mistake like that and have it matter.
Yeah, I mean, in general, like, there is still, you know, yeah, there's just a lot of pieces that need to come together. Like, you need all of your Pikmin to get the 15 bag down, you know, and I mean, an early game is by far, in terms of the above ground, probably the most consistently optimized split that top runners do for good reason. So, you know, like, that's the kind of thing that, like, Jack is going to always be very rock steady on, you know?
Jack did that egg push before the 10 pellet got in, which is wild because he does it from the side like a maniac.
Yeah, Jack is really fast. It doesn't matter too much as long as it doesn't matter too much as long as, you know, you do it in enough time to get the 5 pellets, because you sort of want to wait until the other pellets get, you know, until the other sprouts come up so you can quickly pluck all of them. But Jack is known for doing it very fast. Yeah, it's impressive to look at.
Well, I mean, being so fast there meant that he loaded both the 5 pellets so that, like, the stagger happened with the 10 pellet sprouts, kind of.
No, yeah, I know, it's very good. SBU actually didn't, for all of, oh, okay, yeah, he kind of dragged there, but I was gonna say he actually did a good job of keeping with it. You know, at the bag, he was good, but one thing that SBU didn't do is the whole point of getting 2 on, like, once you get 2 on the 1 pellet, you can just throw and run. Because no other Pikmin are going to try to get onto the 1 pellet once it's max loaded, so you can just kind of throw and go. But, you know, he didn't seem to do that, and I think that kind of cost him a little bit. Just more seconds here and there.
Also, they're doing the different routes, each of them, which is interesting.
Yeah. I think optimally played, it's close, but as you like to say, Jack's route, like the newer route, I think is easier to play optimally. And so something less brain power, you know? One
yeah,
advantage...
the less you can use your brain in early game, the better.
Yeah. Yeah. But as you can see, actually, like, SBU, even though SBU made a lot of mistakes, you know, he's obviously behind, but he's not, like, that far behind. Like, I don't think the different route change is really the main reason why he's, like, delayed, you know? Like, he was already... Yeah. It's very close. One of the advantages is when you come back with both, you get to pluck all of the sprouts with both captains, and so you actually get back to the gate faster, which is why they're close. I still like the new route if I have to do Louis skip, but like,
well,
I think
as long as you beat the gate back, I feel like it doesn't really matter which one you do. But the thing is that SBU also didn't get the first treasure cutscene, so he's gonna get it right here.
Oh.
Or he's not.
That's a misplay because
What?
he was waiting at the
Oh
onion.
yeah, you
Yep.
did. I
Yeah.
forgot you don't get it immediately. You have to approach the treasure.
Jack loaded the citrus immediately, which is good. Only because you don't have to worry about it. But
I mean, it's one of those like turning your brain off things, but it's technically slower because you have to arc the Pikmin to the side to do that.
yeah, it depends on the line that you take. I think the main problem is that if you don't do that on this RNG, I think SBU, you need to kind of like throw Pikmin and you need to go back and load the citrus like pretty much ASAP. And so SBU kind of lagged loading the citrus, and so he kind of paid for it.
Oh, he gets the bug body too.
You only really lose lockout, so it's annoying, but it's not too annoying. But yeah. But Jack actually really pulled ahead. I mean, I don't know. It's hard to say how much he really pulled ahead because it's exacerbated by the fact that ooh, Jack actually went and just killed that one dwarf. That's I guess that's good for safety. You know, sometimes they can just snack on the Pikmin and that's really annoying. Yeah, nice.
Now that was time loss.
Yeah, I don't like
SBU
doing that.
doing
I
both
like doing
of them.
that, but you have to kind of, I like just doing it on like the running throw. Like I think that if you have to like turn, if you have to actually do any extra movement to get that, I think it's not really worth it.
Okay, SBU kind of messed that up a little bit because he had to go back and get those reds because they didn't carry the dwarf. But that means that like his C sticking was messed up because the leaves didn't want to go on the globe.
Especially with this stuff, there's a lot of like, there is like a lot of what I consider like macro, like optimizations that in later caves we don't have just because it's not figured out that much, like, you know, how you're C-sticking and all that stuff. And so when things go wrong, it's really easy for time loss, relative time loss to like couple really high because, you know, suddenly your muscle memory is all corked up. Notice how SB didn't have to struggle with that bullborb at all. I kind of agree that that was a silly bullborb for Jack to kill earlier. But, I mean, he didn't really pay for it.
I mean, I think especially when you didn't do Louis skip, because it's not like that one red is really that important.
No.
Oh, SBU throwing over the very top of the globe, so getting the maximum amount of time loss from those purples.
Yeah, it's something that, I mean, maybe SBU wasn't thinking about that, but, you know, it is like a small thing where you actually want them to hit the edge of the globe because you don't want them to pound. Because if they do a little pound, there's like a sort of a delay in their animation from when they pound to when they can grab on. So you want them to just hit the edge of the treasure so they don't pound, and then they immediately see it and grab on. And that's just a small optimization here, especially because the globe is slow, so any extra speed that you can get is good speed.
Yeah, it's probably just one of those tiny things that like you wouldn't notice until you try to like scrutinize yourself and hyper optimize what you're doing compared to everyone else. Like
A lot
SB
of people
always
don't
just
even
like
think
shuts
about
his
the
brain
time
off.
loss.
Yeah.
Like
Like
how
if he's
you're
watching
loading
someone else play this segment, he probably just turns his brain off and thinks it doesn't matter, which is fair, but you know that time loss is important.
I think there's always like this kind of subtle stuff, and I think it can be applied into later caves. Not maybe as obviously, but like I think there is this kind of thing where a lot of times in Pikmin 2, beginner and intermediate, and let's be honest, even advanced runners think of things kind of in like very, very, very vague macroscopic, you know, terms like, oh, well, I'm just gonna load this or load that. But there is actual technique always behind those things, right? Like how you load something can be fast and slow. And so it's like, oh, well, I did the same thing as this top runner. Why am I so much slower? It's like you might be doing the same things like, you know, like the big bullet points, but like there's all of these, you know, there's always the right way to do things. And honestly, Jack and IID in particular are two runners that are very good at doing things very quickly in terms of overall technique, which is a testament to their skill. But SBU with the loads getting a little bit of a catch up here. Ooh, Jack, I just like sort of C-sticking because Jack threw some reds, but if he had C-sticked, he probably could have gotten more on the gate earlier. Small optimization.
I think throwing those reds is fine, but you should still be C-sticking the whole time.
Yeah. I think it's the only problem with that is it's diminishing returns because you throw, then especially if they hit the gate, they have to fall down, then they see, and then they latch on. I mean, it depends. I just feel like it can mess up people's C-stick often. But is it actually, I mean, SBU being, Jack being the top seed for obvious reasons, him being currently the fastest payoff debt runner, SBU is still holding his own despite some mishaps.
Okay, I feel like instead there, SBU could have just plucked 2 reds and sped up those pellets, since he had to wait there anyway.
Yeah.
Those pellets would have gotten in, like, everything would have gotten in faster, and he could have put more on the gate on the second trip up.
Yeah. Interhole Beast is hard, especially when, like, especially when you don't get the optimal scenario, like, especially when, you know, like, one of the 1 pellets is, like, isn't getting carried in the beginning, or especially if they're, like, the distribution is weird. It can be hard to... Ooh, SBU,
dude. Those
SBU,
reds are gonna hit
he
slower.
might not know that it's slower. Because it's counterintuitive, right? Like, they're still hitting the gate, but to those that don't know, it actually is slower to the Pikmin on top do actually less damage.
That's like a super duper tiny detail, and I only really found out about stuff like that because I saw someone post a video on, like, the speed of Pikmin breaking a bridge. Because, like, you can bump into them, and for some reason, they'll destroy the bridge faster.
Neither Jack nor SBU seem to be going for the, like, Nick kill, which I think is interesting because, I mean, it's pretty safe, but the probability that you lose more than 1 red is very low, especially if you're practiced. And so, especially with Louis skip, I'm kind of surprised that neither of them went for it.
I mean, Jack just doesn't like that strat in general.
Which is kind of surprising because I think the time save is actually, like, not marginal. Like, I think it's clearly a couple seconds.
Yeah, it's definitely a decent chunk of time save to do that. And it's not like it's that big of a risk in payoff debt, because having, like, 72 reds instead of 71 reds doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
The AT, where you can only lose, like, 3 total before you have to grow extra.
Yeah, for sure. No, I'm in agreement.
Okay, SBU went a little bit more out of his way for those grubs, which means he's probably going to get all of them. Which I don't think Jack did, so...
I think... I don't know.
It
like,
is slower, but he is getting all the bugs.
It's kind of like... Holo Beast 1 is one of those ones where, like, even when it's a little bit slower, I think... And honestly, especially in a race setting, I think having that money is, like... It's just very powerful. You know, it's less, like, it's less that you have to do later. Because farming is really hard, and if you don't know, like... I mean, we can have this conversation, like, in general for the speedrun. Like, is it worth it if we get lens or not? Like, you know, if you get lens or not and that stuff. But especially in a race, I think that there's, like, a lot of security in being rich. And
yeah, as long as you're hitting your thresholds, like, it's okay to be over, but you just definitely don't want to be under by the time you get to the end of the run.
Also, it's like Holo Beast 1, again, kind of as, like, you know, an underrated thing is you actually are usually multitasking the bugs. Like, if you're efficient, SB went a little bit out of his way, but, you know, just flaring your Pikmin out a little bit can easily net you, like, you know, 3 to 7 Pokos, honestly, like, extra. And that's really good, like, in general. Like, I think a lot of people don't think about bugs until later, but if you think about it, like, if you could do that in Perplexing Pool, you would every time, you know? We just don't think about it like that because it's so early in the game, but, you know, like, well, especially, you know, these runs are guaranteed to finish, so, like, you really got to think about the long game.
Yeah, it's like the difference between being, like, 2180 out of White Flower Garden and being 2190. Like, it doesn't look that important early on just because, like, you're only at White Flower Garden, but, like, that's 10 because you don't have to get later.
Yeah. Yeah, no, totally.
So I'll be right back.
No, for sure. I think there's, like, a lot of small nuances that I think, like, are kind of important in early game, like, but I think, like, bug collection, like, having sort of, like, keeping standard is really good. Holo Beast 4 is coming up, so we're gonna have a lot to look at there. So there's the Bulborb, and from the come down we see that the Matites are on the other side. So So Jack is going to do this, and he's not going to load the Bulborb until later, which I think makes a lot of sense. Because he has to double back anyway.
Yeah, you gotta go back.
Yeah, but it's fine. So yeah, he's just doing that, and then that's enough. I like that. Oh, and there's the... Yep, I see.
Yep.
But he knows where the Matites are, so that's good. I think he's... I mean, again, questionable, but I think it would be a really rare layout for getting the Matites to be not worth it. Like, I just think it's just such a good 10. And getting a 10 this early is almost always just so good. Like, even in serious, like, PB attempt payoff debt runs. I like what SBU did here.
Yeah, that was good.
I like... Okay, but now he's taking... he's just taking... Oh, God. He's taking... This is one where you can kind of see more externally that SBU took a little bit... No, he doesn't know.
God.
Clockwise, my guy. Clockwise.
See, the issue with SBU's play is that, like, it's marginal what the correct decision was there for loading the Bulborb, but the more important thing is that he had to make a decision quicker with the play that he did.
But there's just also just... And this is, like... It's hard because it's not, like, quote-unquote real advice, but... I noticed that there's like a lot of fidgeting. I do this in I think it's also just not familiarity. Like, I'm so familiar that I don't fidget with that, and neither does Jack. You know, you don't fidget with some of those things like, you know, like loading a Bulborb. But, you know, SBU came back, right? And he was just standing in front of the Bulborb for 5 seconds trying to figure out how to, like, get 10 reds on there, right? And it should not take you 5 seconds to throw 10, you know, to figure out what to do. You know? You should just go there, throw the Pikmin, and move. And that's what Jack did.
Yeah, it's one of those, like, macro, like, situational awareness things where it's like, he should have recognized after he killed it and then walked away from it. He should have made a decision at some point between there what he was going to do on his way back. Instead of waiting until he got there and then being like, oh, what do I do?
Yeah.
Like, you don't even have to be at the point where you're thinking about that stuff, like, outside of the game. Necessarily, but like you should at least have a game plan by the time you get back there. If you're
right. Also, there's this other awareness thing where, like, for example, Jack, it was kind of subtle, but he just put a red Pikmin on the fire geyser that was gonna get in trouble, and then SBU. I don't think the cutscene played, but like some Pikmin caught on fire that SBU had to deal with because he didn't deal with that, and it just, you know, one of the things that like the third of a second that it took to throw the third of the second that it took to throw the red onto the fire geyser saved, you know, less headache later, because then that's something that Jack didn't have to worry about.
Also, yeah, we didn't talk about it, but SBU didn't even do a variant of Fast Empress, and he got a 1-cycle kill, which I'm surprised that it even worked at all, because it didn't look like it was going to.
That, yeah. That's interesting. I actually want to go back and look at that more. But SBU's the kind of person where, like, especially in payoff debt, and, you know, SBU is actually notably kind of a steward for the new play control version. Oh, something's going on. Kemi having a little fun. No, so SBU is notably a steward for the new play control version, right? So the caveat is that, you know, for the GameCube version, which this tournament is for, he is a little bit less experienced. So it makes sense that for stuff like the quick kill, where like failing it can like result in disaster, it makes sense that SBU might be a little more cautious about that kind of stuff, you know?
Okay, see there, it's like a similar principle to Whole Beast 1, where SBU like went way out of his way for the bugs before the treasure. But the issue here is that like you can still get all those bugs even after loading the treasure, because the treasure takes so long.
Yeah. You know, but it's like I saw it a little bit more clearly that time. You know, he did lose time, but that one was a little bit, I feel like, a little bit more minor. But I guess also I think a lot of that is familiarity. Like, I don't think SBU is sure, and I think that's what I see. Like, I don't think SBU is sure that he can get all of the bugs without flaring them out. You know, I don't think he has that experience and or confidence on the GameCube version. And so I think that's kind of, we're seeing kind of artifacts of that in his play. You know, where he's making sure that stuff works, But unfortunately, especially in this kind of speed run, there is kind of a huge benefit in sort of being comfortable. Like, you know, we talk about experience, but really what experience is good for more than anything else is certainty. Like, when Jack does something, he's certain that it will work, where SBU might be less certain. And that just comes out in sort of the microscopic sort of tight movement and doing it, and maybe not even the microscopic, like, you know, going for certain strats and whatnot.
Also, one of the blowhogs in this layout was definitely gettable. I think if you throw a few reds on your way up to the bottle cap, it's probably...
I actually was recently talking with Kemi and her stream about this. I mean, I've been running AT, so I didn't do it today, but maybe I'll... Next time I do it, I want to clip it. You can actually pretty safely C-stick like 20 reds onto the blowhog as it's about to... You know, similar to how you want to do it for, you know, Enter FC and AT, where you can C-stick like 20 reds onto the blowhog as it inhales, you know, as it's about to breathe fire. And those 20 reds will kill it before it shakes. Right? So you get leafless. And those 20 reds that you put on it, I mean, you don't need that for the treasures. You only need 10 reds for the far treasure max. 10 or 8. So, you know, those... And you have 50. So, you know, just C-sticking 20 reds is more than enough to kill it, and it's 0 time loss.
Well, when you do that, you want to be sure that you're only putting on reds, right? So you'd have to, like, grab a red and hold on for a second just to make sure.
You actually, if you can anticipate it, you can kind of C-stick, and the reds are going to, like, you know, naturally, right, as you move, the reds are going to be ahead of the purples.
So well, yeah, but I don't know with how close it was without looking again.
I mean, in this particular case, it's kind of hard to say. I feel like that, like, if maybe some other time when there was, like, a video of it happening... I generally don't, like, manipulate my Pikmin with throwing. I just do it with the raw C-stick. Because, I mean, the whole point is you don't want to sacrifice too much movement, you know, to get it, you know? But, yeah. In any case, I mean, SBU is, I want to say, again, just for the huge seed disparity here, you know, close is relative, but, I mean, it's within half a sub-level. So, you know, maybe only 45 seconds back, which, you know, Jack is... one of the top players with notable good early game. You know, he's one of the, what, 2 or 3 people that have gotten sub 27 White Flower Garden exits. He's gotten multiple.
He definitely could have gone the other way on this layout through the Poison Geyser. But...
Yeah, I think he likes moving.
You know, it's like a second or something.
Yeah.
And, you know, you don't want to have like a 1 in 100 fail and activate the cutscene. So
yeah, I think that's a little bit of a race thing. In general, I've noticed that Jack has been kind of doing more of like not what SBU did, where he doesn't like dismissing at spawn anymore. Like he really likes running through and doing a dismiss later, even if that means whistling through the poison. But in general,
well, I kind of agree because like it takes like 2 or 3 seconds for the Pikmin to like get arranged so that you're not whistling other Pikmin.
I usually throw a purple, kind of a la Holy Beast Freedom. I think it depends on the layout, because I also like running through sometimes. It depends on exactly how the dismiss works, because, like in that one it's so close, but if you have to dismiss anyway, I'm like, well, you have to dismiss anyway. As long as you're doing it cleanly, I don't think it matters too much. Yeah. So here we see Jack with maybe a 50-second lead, which is kind of understandable because of, you know, of the strats used and obviously of Jack's, you know, a very consistent sort of power in his urgency. 2197 is also pretty good. I mean, it's like, I mean, by pretty good, I mean actually very, very, very good. You want to be around 2190, so he's... I mean, it's pace, so I mean, it doesn't really matter to do this early, but I would normally say he's 7 Pokos above where I expect him to be, which is, you know, which is a good thing. Let's see where SBU's at. Should be somewhere similar. Yeah, see, he's only, Unless that is not including the Snaggerit. I didn't see it, but because it got in, yeah. He might be 7 Pokos behind Jack, which is weird because he did make. Yeah, it's weird because he did he got an extra bug and he did take time. There must have been some bugs in Hole of Beast that he didn't get.
Jack did that knapsack very quickly, by the way. The first one.
Yeah. It's nice when that knapsack doesn't troll. I mean, as we all know, that knapsack actually might be the most trolly knapsack in the game.
He also set it up very quickly, which is pretty important.
Nice. SBU did a good one, too.
Yeah, that was pretty clean. Yep.
That happens. Sometimes you turn. Sometimes you know, you throw and then turn, but sometimes, you know, your brain messes up the order a little bit, and you throw a little bit as you're turning, and you can do that. Good thing that he caught it, though, right? I mean, that's a pretty awkward thing to get later. Ooh, don't fall out of the rock. Yeah.
Also, like, a tiny thing that SBU should probably consider is that you want to be holding a red on your way to the scales, because tripping can mess with the whole fluidity of that movement there.
Yeah. Even stumbling, right? I mean, like, maybe that's also what you mean, because there's like tripping, and then there's even, you know, when like the Pikmin just like they don't do a full trip, right? But they stumble a little bit.
Yeah. Well, there's like tripping, and then there's Pikmin 1 tripping in Pikmin 2.
I guess so, yeah. I mean, I forget, though the wiki sometimes calls it like stumbling, so like tripping is like Pikmin 1 tripping, you know, like the full trip. Oh lord. SBU, no, he pulled a me. That's unfortunate, especially in a race setting. So you of course want the blue knapsack, but he did. It's very common for me historically to wake up on the blue knapsack, and that is what SBU did. And that's very unfortunate because the blue knapsack is less common. But he didn't wake up there. Nice. And he didn't get cutscened. That's good. I think he avoided getting cutscened by the dice. But that is unfortunately brutal time loss. Yeah. At least he didn't get cutscened, because that would be heartbreaking, honestly. Oh, a little bit awkward for Jack. He
just tried to be too slick with it.
Yeah, I just think that, you know, the Pikmin management was a little bit weird. I think he only lost. I didn't actually see the amount of Pikmin that he lost, but because of the cutscene. But that cutscene means he at least lost 1 white, which is.
I think it was 2 whites. Yo, SBU, let's go. Loading the goo, even though you don't need to.
Let's go, goo squad. In any case, I mean, Jack's in a pretty good spot, but that always hurts. Those are the kind of things where, like, even in a payoff debt race, like, those are the things that, if it's a really close race, where it's brutal. Because that will... Compared to an alternate universe where he doesn't do it, that is going to drain time. Nice. I mean, they're both going to get the same layout, but splits are usually pretty easy to play.
This layout has shown up, like, at least 2 other times in this tournament, by the way. And it's showing the correct thing to do, which... I think I also did, but I don't know without looking, which is that you have to look the other way to see if the white flower is there. Because, like, on this RNG specifically, like, you need to dismiss at spawn to get there in time.
Yeah.
Like, on slower RNGs, it kind of doesn't really matter, because you just have so much free time, but here you don't really have that much free time, so you have to do that.
Yeah. SBU probably will be pretty similar in that regard in doing that. This is also good. He also got the knit body, which is good. It's just one of those things where, you know, being sure to collect all that stuff really is a huge boot. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, and see, Jack did this fast enough that he didn't have any dead time, because the treasure got in about right when he got to the hole.
Oh yeah, no, 0 dead time. So SBU does the same look. He looks and he throws. Yep, that's pretty much it. Any whistle switches? Yeah.
Good whistle. They both whistle switch, which means that they both deserve to keep me following them on Twitch. So
good. Yep, nice. I don't know. I like it. Always get the.
Yeah, you can't leave that cheer wig there because it can just eat a white and ruin your day.
Yeah, and SBU's doing the right thing. I mean, you know, SBU, he knows the right things to do. You know, so in this case, no, I mean, to me, for example, it's like the small things where like someone might, for one reason or another, don't fight that, yeah. One reason or other, they might have whistled the purples off of the knit, but it's like, this is the kind of like general recognition where you know you don't need those purples. And so you can keep those purples on, and that's going to be another 3 Pokos. You know, and that's the kind of stuff that it does add up as in this speedrun. You know, Jack did it too, but I was just curious because it's something that lesser runners sometimes, you know, micromanage too much, you know?
Yeah, I see what you mean.
More is less sometimes, and less is more. Sorry, that's what I meant. It isn't more, but yeah, I mean, I guess they're both true. Jack killed the watery blowhog really early, which is honestly really good. The watery blowhogs, are vicious.
Jack
and
going on a massacre on this 4, just killing everything. Because if you don't kill the Bulborbs, they are going to eat Pikmin off the treasures.
See, the Bulborbs are like really awkwardly, the Bulborbs are like really awkwardly spaced too, because sometimes if they're like together and off in the corner.
Jack didn't check the spawn points past the marble, so I hope he knows where the beetle is.
He does not. He got mixed.
No, so he pretty big mistake there, honestly.
When it's top to bottom, here's the thing. So this is kind of hard when it's masked. Like it's bullshit. But
well, you gotta know on this. Like if you either have to be willing to check these spawn points before you leave, or you have to check the gauge the other direction of the room.
So here's the small nuance that I would give. Like the first time that he didn't check, I would give him. I would maybe be a little bit like sympathetic. But the thing is, at the end of the day, like it's a top to bottom, and you knew the gauge wasn't up like when you walked there, so you know it has to be in this final room. Like you know that it has to be. And
yeah, so like the mistake
point,
is that he fully left the room and went back to the middle room.
Yeah.
Because I feel like the flowchart needs to be something along the lines of like you load the marble and you either check those spawn points that are past the marble, or you go to the other side of the room, and then you can figure out exactly where it is after doing either of those things. OSBU didn't check either, but he's gonna go this way.
But see, that's the thing. Now let's see if he. But you see, this is the difference, and this is what Jack didn't do. Is okay. SBU's a little bit mixed. It's fine. But you see, but SBU went the other way, and then he immediately was like, "Oh, it's back here," right? And that was what SBU did that Jack actually didn't. So that's the thing. Him going away, I don't blame him for that. But I think he recovered how I would like him to. And so that is, in my opinion, very good on SBU.
Okay, so Jack, while the beetle was dying, like fanned all over that room to check for the Bulborb. Except the Bulborb can actually be like further into the hallways than you think. So it didn't matter because the marble was not in that room to begin with, but it could have been farther away from the center of the room than where he checked. And then he would go and he'd have to go back in there. Because you can't start the gauge until the thing dies.
Oh, gosh, yeah. SH5, increasingly, just recently, it has become a little bit of a frustrating sublevel for me personally, just because there is all these small things of like, oh, you thought you checked, but you just have to be very thorough.
I like the idea, though, because you want to be doing something while the antenna beetle is dying instead of just waiting for it to die.
Yeah, never be waiting.
But the fact that he left that room implies that he just kind of assumed that the Bulborb with the marble wasn't in there. And I don't think you could make that assumption based on the area that he checked. And it didn't matter. It ended up not being in there, but I don't think you can make that assumption reasonably without being willing to accept.
Let's see if SBU reads the gauge properly here. It's also a little bit easier to read the gauge. Oh, nothing's in there.
No treasures. I mean,
fighting the Snagrid is so bad.
He didn't really have a choice though, unless he just booked it to the hole because he was drowning. Well, he was drowning a white, and he C-sticked Pikmin onto the Snagrid on accident. So that's honestly a call to make. So he just opted to play it safe and save all the Pikmin instead of risking it.
I don't know. Well, the hole wasn't even gated, I guess is my thing, where it's like, he could have left before anyone died.
Yeah, and I mean, he was still probably hoping that he could get lens on that layout.
Like, he has some buffer. Like, I think it's, like, fine, right? But I don't know. Especially in a race, it's the risk-reward, in theory. I'm talking about in theory as well, not even just in this race. Like, in a race, when you're trying to race somebody, if you see that the exit is, if you have the choice between maybe searching and going, I don't know. It's kind of like a gambler's, or it's like a prisoner's dilemma thing, right? Where it's like, if you search and they don't, and you don't get the payout, then you've just lost 25 seconds to them, or something. 15, 25, however long it takes you to search.
Okay, SBU also did the good thing and moved the camera as he was zooming out the camera, so that he could... Because the point of that is that you want to be paused for as little time as possible, right? So you just check a direction for the hole, and if you see it there, then you know it's there. If you don't see it's there, you know it's the other way. So you can stay paused for less time.
The main thing, like, that bugs me, this is just an aside, like, watching SBU, I gotta go on a little bit of a tirade here. It's mini tirade. Like, the time that it took to fight the Snagret, especially, like, would have way offset lens. And TST is only 60. Maybe with the body, you can argue that it's 70. But it's just like, if I saw that the hole was uncovered, and even if, as a Snagret was coming up, I would just leave it. It's just not worth... It just isn't... Aquatic Mine, I feel like, especially because at the top level you do really want lens, I feel like Aquatic Mine has kind of gotten a bad rap. It's not that slow, though. Especially, I need to learn, actually, your technique, Curtis. But, like, you know, in general, it's like, what, 35, 40 seconds? Anywhere from 35
well, it's like 40 seconds, and then you add, like, 5 or whatever for having to get bugs for the rest of the run. So it's like 45-ish.
Oh, I mean, I think total, I think lens saves a minute, but I'm saying, like, versus TST, right? So don't factor in bugs.
Just, yeah, like, well, TST is actually negative on bugs. Like, you'd have to get more bugs.
Right. So, so I'm just talking about, like, the raw time, the raw time that it takes to get Aquatic Mine. It's like 40 seconds. And so, you know, fighting the Snagret, and that's including the cutscene, the treasure cutscene.
Yeah, so including TST is gonna be like 30 something usually if it's in.
Yeah, maybe, but like you gotta fight it, and then you gotta carry it back, and in like, you know, you gotta fight it, then you gotta carry it back in 20 seconds because the cutscene is 30 seconds. Sorry, the cutscene is 10 seconds. So you gotta fight it and carry it back in 20 seconds. I don't know. I think it's actually slower, way more than people realize. To the point where, like, if I saw that the hole was ungated.
Okay, Jack can do the backup. He can swap it up.
Yep, and he knows. That's good. Oh, I got mixed up. Yes, it's Jack. Yes, Jack would know. Sorry, for a second, I was looking, I'm like, oh, does SBU know? But, no, he does.
Yeah, if that Snagger 6 had TST, it would definitely be faster to get it than to get mine. But the thing is, there's only two Snagrets on that floor, so it feels terrible when you kill a Snagret and it doesn't have it. Especially when that Snagret isn't even guarding lens or, like, a gated exit or anything.
I guess my argument is, and this is just food for thought, like, I don't definitively know the answer, but I can't help but wonder if, like, even if it did have TSC, would it be worth it? It'd be close, but it's 10 less Pokos.
I mean, it definitely saved time. It's just, like, it's not saving as much as you would hope for.
I don't think you're saving a lot at all, because the Snagret combat.
Well, time save is time save at the end of the day, but like,
I mean,
when you get lens, you're expecting to save like 40, and if you get that, you're saving like 5 to 10.
I don't know. So it's like fighting the Snagret is 15 alone, right? And then cutscene makes it 25. I don't know. I think it actually. I just think it's bad. And then you have to wait for the head, because otherwise you're losing even more time. I don't know. I think.
Well, you're also saving a. Are you saving the percentage cutscene after BK? Like, can you skip 40% if you get TST?
Good.
Because you're still saving that time if you get it.
Yeah, I guess, I mean, I don't know. To me, it's kind of hard. I think if your bugs are... I think the thing is, TST is really good if your bugs are... I mean, if your bugs are good, it's always a good thing, right? But I feel like TST is really powerful if you have good bugs. Oh, SPU did not get cutscened. That's very good to see.
This is a good split from SBU, except one thing I did notice is that when he was loading the Pilgrim Bulb, he tried to do a strat that I stole from IAD, which is grabbing a purple on top of the pot instead of like going around the back of the pot and walking off. But he fumbled with his swapping up there, which did not make it worth it. But all of this is like theoretical stuff because you're waiting on the bridge at the end of the day.
Yeah. In general, whatever movement is kind of smooth and makes you the less mistakes is I think where you have to start first, and then you always build from that. I think Pikmin 2 speedrunning more than a lot of other speedruns is definitely very much like you have to learn to walk before you can run, you know what I mean? Because like it's very
because like you can do the difficult strats and stuff that saves like a little bit of time, but like you're not going to execute it as well if you don't have like the fundamentals of doing the other strat.
Like yeah, like it's one of those things like and also like a lot of the hard things they don't really scale well. Like I'm just gonna take like the lifeguarding strat that's gonna come up in a little bit, you know, where like yeah that saves, I think it saves, you know, some time, but like if you really aren't comfortable with it, the penalty is so much higher than just doing the older way, the other way that we do it, you know. Like, is it worth that second and a half if you're not feeling good? Like, it probably isn't, you know.
I'm wondering if Jack got that Dweevil body.
He sometimes does.
Oh, he's waiting for it. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if it was worth waiting for, but he definitely put time into getting it after getting the treasure. So he actually came up with a strat where you throw a purple on your way in, and it kills the Dweevil by the time you get back. So there, like, cleanly gets in before the treasure.
Yeah, it depends on the details of like exactly how much faster of exactly how quick it takes to get the 10 whites up there, right? Which is another thing.
Oh, SBU, this body's probably not going to get in very quickly because all his whites went on this one. The treasure.
Yeah, I have to say I kind of agree with that sometimes. I think on this level it's hard to get the body here. Like the amount of time that you lose. Oh gosh, Jack.
I mean, it sucks because you definitely want the body, right? Because like you expect, it's one of those floors where you expect to get the body. Like when me and Max made like a spreadsheet of like bug body pace, like we assume that you get that body on that floor.
Oh, I mean, sure, you should be getting that body most of the time. I mean, this is just the exception to the rule, you know.
Yeah. So Jack's polywog like bounced further into the swarm of anodes, so he's not going to be getting that.
So one thing that I want to point out that Jack did that I think could have been a little bit better is he tried to activate the Wollywog without, like, to have the Wollywog drop without flipping, and he was kind of like sort of like inching in and out of the anode Dweevil territory, where it would have been faster just to throw a purple and flip and go in, you know? But he was trying to avoid doing anything. He was trying, it's like trying to be so efficient that you're a little bit slower, you know what I mean? Where sometimes
yeah, like you just have to at some point recognize that it's not where you want it to be, and you have to just deal with it. You were probably gonna have to anyway.
Surgery is nice, but sometimes you actually just sometimes the hammer works, and if the hammer works, you don't need the scalpel, you know.
I mean, if you really don't want to flip all those anodes, you can just like throw a red or two in there and activate it and whistle and
by the way, people don't do this nearly enough. And I did this actually in my most recent attempt for AT, albeit, but it's the same kind of idea where if it's really especially if you know it's the Wollywog, which can travel, you can like basically do the similar thing that we do in SH1 and BK1, where you can actually run in just with a solo captain and lure
you can
it.
just dismiss.
Yeah, just dismiss and run in with the solo captain and lure it. See, SBU.
This is gonna be kind of messy.
Yeah, but the execution is... Oh, but he got the stun, so that's good. The execution is a little bit awkward here, but, like, the idea, I thought, was actually better executed than what Jack did, where it says he just flipped and he went. He still took a little bit too much time, I think, before that. You see, he's spending too much time here. He's spending too much time here. It's like, no, you gotta go.
Well, I mean, he was probably just checking those to see if the Wollywog was massive enough to beat
Yeah,
him.
but I just feel like that to me. I go and I thought he in my opinion I thought that the Wallywog was so close that he kind of checked it as he like sort of stormed the Pikmin. But it's fine. I mean, it's all good. And he has the purple.
You definitely don't want to go into this candy cane room and be incorrect.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, he did the right thing where he saw the gauge go. Both Jack and SBU saw the gauge go up in sub-level 4 before, like, in this room, and so they just went here first, which is always the right call. Ooh, I really like how Jack did the lure here. The only problem with doing this second is that, like, it was good, but this is one where I think it's questionable whether or not it would have been better to just quickly lure it and kill it with purples. Because then you only have to put a couple purples on the Eternal Emerald Eye and the Bulborb, and those will, like, guaranteed collect, and then you can focus everything on the Colossal Fossil. But, I mean, I think he was able to kind of do a swap. Both SBU and Jack got mixed up by by BK5. I don't know. But Jack played it really well, so. He's waiting for bugs, yep, which is the wise thing to do.
Well, he didn't get the Wollywog, so he's kind of forced to.
Yeah, SBU did a really good job of getting money, honestly. He farmed really hard.
Yeah, he got the Wollywog, and he got, like, basically every Anna that he killed except 1 or 2.
Yeah, which I think especially is good. I think getting money is even better, frankly, when you're... I mean, I don't want to say less... I mean, SBU is good, but, like, when you're less experienced, I think it's powerful. See, I would lure it, but if you factored in maybe the lure, I don't necessarily hate... Yeah, I don't know, like... Maybe not exactly how SBU's doing.
Dude, okay, he realized.
Yeah, it's good.
Well, he had to kill at least one of those Dweevils, or else something that he cared about was going to get taken, but...
Yeah,
By
it's...
killing both of them, it means that he's getting even more bugs, so it's not, like, the worst thing in the world that he did that. It's just that, like, he did it before the skull was moving.
Yeah, I think, like, this is nebulous, which is kind of like, it's one of the things where it's hard to improve on, but I think SB's biggest thing is I just think there are times in which he just, like, kind of fidgets.
Oh, he was...
Yeah, ooh, and that's a huge loss, actually. 4 whites.
Yeah, that's
no reason to play...
problems.
I don't know, and that's to me just a shame because, you know, you played, like, this section, right? He played the section where, like, you get all the bugs, like, very carefully, and then he just kind of, like, stood too close, you know? And, like, and I'm the kind of person who, especially when I'm rusty, I make those kind of mistakes too, right? And it hurts, you know? It just really hurts. So that's unfortunate. Jack had some losses too, but I think the thing that SBU just sometimes takes a little bit of extra time making sure everything's good, and I think to a certain level that's a good thing, but I also think that, like, it does sometimes kind of hold him back, and that's where Jack really capitalizes.
Jack is leading with a lot of bugs here. This feels like a bug-heavy seed so far, so SBU is probably going to be ahead of that, if I had to guess. Which means that they're both on really good money pace overall.
Yeah. I mean, I think that both of them are really good on money. I mean, Jack, I think Jack had a little bit more money going into Snaggered Hole than SBU. He had like 7 more than SBU going into Snaggered Hole, and like he didn't get as many bugs in BK as SBU did, but he also just, you know, generally, you know, Jack does the top layer thing where I think he properly kind of managed time and money. Like 4944 is fine, and SBU might be at 4950, which is good, but I think Jack kind of knows that 4940 something is something that he can, you know, recover from. 16 whites just hurt.
Yeah, that's gonna slow down this above ground a lot. And honestly, the first few floors of SCX as well.
Yeah. It's not
see, I really don't like that, because now all those whites are down there, and they're hitting that fire. And you had a bunch of whites come down there, which is more than the one that you like to use for the nap.
Yeah, this is one where I think SBU just tried to remix what we do, but the sad reality is what we do for a reason, you know? Like, there's a reason why why we throw that white on the ledge and then nap, you know? Like,
Also,
it
why
isn't-
you should throw your whites on the right side so that never happens, which is
Yeah.
the opposite of what Jack does for some reason. But you know that never happens to Jack, so he probably just hasn't
Yeah.
thought of it. It's probably just
Some
one of those
adjustments
things
are-
where it's like I haven't messed that up before, so I'm just not gonna think about it. But I
I've-
mean, it's gonna suck the first time that it happens.
yeah. I mean, and Jack in general, I think maybe even subconsciously tends to play a little fast and loose sometimes, Like just even in the small stuff. He's like, "Yeah, I'm just going to throw them here and it's going to work." And he's right. I mean, he usually has really good intuition for that kind of thing,
I feel like it's just one of those like mindset differences where it's like some people just find one thing that works and they just roll with that until it doesn't work, and then there's other people that will like sit down and deeply analyze all the options and figure out which one's the best.
Yeah. Well, right. And of course, I mean, in Pikmin 2 especially, there's also like best where it's like, is it just best? Is it faster? Is it safer? What's the
Well,
ratio?
yeah, here it's definitely not a difference in speed unless things go wrong.
I also
which is
throw it
why-
to the right, Curtis. Like, I agree with you for sure. Like, I definitely do that too. Like, because why not, right? Like, it's zero time loss and it's infinitely safer. But I don't think Jack even notices.
And no
Jack,
lifeguard.
notoriously a skeptic that lifeguarding is faster.
Well, I don't think anyone's a skeptic. I just think that like he probably just hasn't practiced it.
I don't know. Just between you and me, Jack was in my chat being a little skeptical. I don't know. He was like, "Is it really?" I'm like,
Well, I
"Yeah,
don't know
yeah."
how you're skeptical of it. It's clearly faster.
Well, that's something that we can go flame him for later. No. Yeah. So this is where, like, in general, whites in payoff debt. I mean, in all this, with Doomsday Apparatus makes it a little bit lopsided for AT, but like whites are just so important that, the difference between 20 and 16 for SBU is like really huge here.
I don't know what SBU did, but it is not what we usually do.
It's close. No, that's
I
right.
thought most were going like all over the place. I guess I'm just blind.
Yeah, normally we don't. Normally we're in a camera where we don't see it, right? But they actually usually do flare out behind you, a little bit. I don't know, but just normally when you just go and you stick the whites on and you switch, like you don't notice that because oh, when you go down the hill, it's a little bit brutal. SBU's not gonna kill the bullboard, which makes sense. If you're not fast enough, it's not worth risking killing things. But
yeah,
it's
if
good.
you make mistakes on this on day 6, then you could
That's
risk being Pikmin behind there.
Jack fumbling a little bit with the throws, which I think he'll be fine, but it's a little bit dangerous here because in this thing you can now get what we like to call cutscened, where like the cutscene, because of how the cutscenes work, if you want to do an input, usually a knapsack, a barrage of cutscenes can really interfere with that. It's kind of a notable problem in several above grounds in payoff debt and some as well in AT, and but he didn't get cutscenes, so it's all good.
Yeah, you have
So
a lot of room to play with when you aren't doing the lifeguarding.
yeah, that's true.
Jack could have had even more time to play with, but he was playing it a little, not really like slow, but just like more like casual on like after the gate. Because I noticed he could a little bit faster, but it's not like it mattered because the limiting factor there is that you need to get all that stuff done before the treasures get in.
Yeah, I mean, in general, this was, I think, well played by Jack's part. But it's because it's one of the things where like everything kind of came in smoothly, and I didn't see, but like Jack also, he must have flowered his whites somewhere, and I don't really know where
He always
did.
he always tries to do it on SH7.
Yeah, I
think he
must
did.
have missed him doing that, but like that also like is a large part of it because like SBU didn't do that, which is
That was
it's
interesting.
understandable. Yeah.
He had a gap in his blues, so he just C-sticked the entire time.
Yeah. Now going on to 1. So here, it's really good to check the alcoves in the big room, because basically the big room has the most spawn points for enemies, and it has the potential for alcoves, and so it's very, very score heavy. So like right here,
might be like right here, yeah. It's interesting layout. I didn't see
yeah,
where
it's
else.
good though. So in this case, I'm guessing that there is a, I actually couldn't see on the come down, but I'm guessing there's a tape in the, in one of the alcoves. Yep, there it is. And then the hole is over here, yeah. So the big room is actually usually a pretty good place to just like check in general for this reason. Because if there's an alcove with the tape in it, then that means that you're just comparing the score of the spiral room to the score of the big room proper. And so if the big room has more enemies, then it actually is more likely to be buried in the big room than buried in the spiral room. But it depends on enemy distributions and hazards and etc. etc. So, you know. But I think in that layout, I think that checking the big room first is kind of a statistically viable option here.
SBU, you don't want to take purples to the bridge. They're gonna be so much slower.
Yeah. SBU kind of doing a little bit of a remix here. So Jack did something that I really like here, where recently I like just kind of rushing the dig on the gear, just because it actually will outcompete the bomb, which is what we saw here. And then he just whistles the whites off, and then he loads the network membrane. And as we see here, it actually works like very well to his favor.
I didn't see where the bomb dropped, but it's kind of scary to do that if it drops like right in the front, though.
Well, you have time to react. So like if it drops right in front of the gear, you can whistle off and play it safe. Right? But the idea is that instead of trying to like micromanage the gear, you just literally put all of your Pikmin, like whites, blues, purples. Like you just like straight C-stick all of them on. And if the bomb immediately drops, that's fine. So to topic change super quick. So SBU lost a lot of whites, and here is where we kind of see the punishment for that. Right? So like this graph was very slow because of all that white loss, which was unfortunately anticipated. And because of all of that, you know, Jack has now, SBU was about a minute and a half back, like in the middle of BK. We unfortunately now see that, you know, there's a little bit of a wider distance between them just because of all this loss. Jack is playing this very well. So Jack noticed that the buried beetle, the enemy that has the treasure, is very close. And so he's actually saving that for, like, last, which makes sense. You know, get the farther stuff moving first. Oops, those blues didn't really dismiss. But I like this in general. And so he's just able to load this stuff. And now that he's done that, he can, oh, jeez.
This is scary now.
I would zoom in here, Jack. Like, I don't know why you don't have to load the second dude. You can just, yeah, it's a little scary, but I think Jack made it out okay. Just zoom in, my guy. See, so SBU checked the spiral room, and I don't want to flame anyone. Like, I get it, but I just think that, like, the more I've played the sub-level, the more I think that the statistics for the big room are just generally good.
Well, here's the thing. Like, even though the statistics are so skewed, it's better to check and waste like 3 seconds and be wrong than to not check and have it be like the one scenario where
Look,
it's not.
I agree that at least he checked fast. I can agree with you on that.
Yeah.
I'm
assuming that you're checking in like 3 seconds. Like, don't be like me in that one race where I just didn't use my eyes and took like 20 seconds.
I mean, I just think, like, in general, like, I'm not even gonna use the S word, you know, but, like, I just think in general, like, especially with gauge reading, like,
I mean, if
like,
you've played like 20,000 hours and you know, then sure. But
well, I'm not saying, but the whole point is that I'm not gonna use the S word. It's just all I was gonna, I'm just saying this generally, right? Like, not necessarily to SBU, like, in this race or whatever, but, like, in general, I think there's reason enough to potentially, you know, like, run towards the big, in this particular layout, for example, if you ran to the big room first and you saw the gauge go up, then you would kind of be immediately rewarded for it, right? Even without using the S word.
I feel like it's reasonable to not check spiral room if the ship is like closer to the big room than it was. Like there, the ship was closer to the spiral room, so it took less time to check than it would have if the ship was in the other spot.
See, so like this was also a good example. It's not a big deal, but like the bomb was in the back, but because SBU like only put blues on the dig, the gear was not going to move fast enough to outcompete it with the dig. Ooh, SBU got burned.
Yeah, you gotta whistle everything off there.
Yeah, you can't C-stick on this level. Nope. Nope. Oh, you can't do that.
Okay, well that time, he had enough time to just let it go.
I mean, it's not punished, but like that's the main thing is the idle bombs on the ground actually are a really good exercise for you to notice how sloppy you are with your Pikmin management, because it's the kind of thing where like on a layout where the bombs aren't there, you might not notice how many idle Pikmin you're leaving around, you know. But on SC2, on SCX7, on SCX2 and 7, you really learn.
This is a weird 6.
Jack is getting the bodies on 6.
This is also a good example of playing a 6 where you spawn in the big room.
Yeah. He's playing this like pretty safe, but
This is definitely a good play.
No, it's a good play. I mean, they're almost always bad here. I like that he handles... One thing is that Jack made very clear in the middle room to handle the Dweevils, and I think that was really good. Because Dweevils, like, especially... Because this is actually technically a top to bottom. It's a weird looking top to bottom on 6, but it's technically bad RNG. Right, like, it's a top to bottom, and Jack doesn't know where the hole is. So
yeah, usually the hole is going to be somewhere weird.
I know it's whiplash going back and forth. SBU did the right thing here, but why are you bringing the purples? SBU just...
Oh, did the other cannon beetle kill the grounded one, I guess? I don't know.
Sure, but like I don't know, but he could have left the purples back at spawn. He now is coming back and killing it. Like he's doing the right things in the right order here. Like I'm not flaming him for that at all. But part of me is just like, you know, like what? You know, like if you had...
I don't know. I don't know if there was much wrong with that. You just need to be loading the treasure earlier than he is.
What I would have done then in this case is I would have put all of my whites on like one of the treasures so that it would collect, and then I could get those whites to make that go fast. In this case though, I guess it's fine anyway, because SBU in typical form needs to he needs to find the hole. So I think this is also a good thing, is like sometimes you gotta know when you don't have the hole and then you start not caring. Nope, he doesn't know where the hole is. To be fair, the hole is like in a weird spot in this layout. In a way, you can kind of intuit that the hole is in a weird spot because all the treasures are really close, which means there aren't that many alcoves, which means that, you know, there's a lot of interconnecting hallways. So in a weird way, it's almost a bad sign for the hole when everything's close. Obviously, walking to the hole isn't that slow, so it's a great layout overall, but it can be a little bit of a dog whistle.
I feel like that kind of layout on 3 is a pretty good example of like how important it is to know the entire layout as soon as you can, instead of just like looking for the things that you need first, like the treasures. Like you need to know where everything is as soon as you can.
That's also a really good example, just to build off of that. I think that's a good example of a layout where, like, it's good, but it's one where, and this is why I think sometimes Subterranean Complex is a very cool cave, where, like, I think that's one where, you know, one's skill and one's comfort level really shows off in a way. Like, I think that, like, that even though it was good RNG, like, a top runner would play that much better than a less experienced runner, you know what I mean?
Yeah, like it's good, but it's not, like, free by any means.
Yeah. And I think in Pikmin 2, especially in some of these later caves, it's really easy to get lost, you know? Like, even Jack got a little bit lost looking for the exit back on 6, by the way. So, like, I think, like, so it happens to everybody, but I just think that, that's what makes Subterranean Complex a very interesting cave, is that because it's very, ooh, the angle for Rimwalk was not quite where he needed to be. That's a shame. That's okay. It happens. I'll be interested to see how SBU plays Subterranean Complex 6. It's not a very good one, but we can see how he decides to handle the hazards. But Jack got 24 bodies on Subterranean Complex. So that's an example of, like, very good bug collection. Especially for no lens. Like, that's gonna be a huge help for him later. Keep in mind that it's sometimes common to get 0 bugs. So getting 24? Not a poke in the eye.
I don't know how necessary it was to pluck those 2 blues, but, you know.
Jack's having a little bit of fun, I think.
I don't agree at all with putting purples on this thing when it's that far away.
Yeah, like, I also
Because
just like...
those purples are going to do way more good for you in FC than any blues will.
Than blues? I don't know,
Yeah.
just put 27 blues on it, and it's fine. No, okay, so... It's common, you actually usually see this with bull bears and bulbmen, but the Dweevil attack is what we call an unbufferable, like, it's a buffered attack, where even if the health of the Dweevil goes to 0, that attack will still come out.
This is good for SBU.
SBU played this great. It's
Oh,
just a
except
little
you
bit...
get out of there!
No! Okay.
Alright. Oh,
so
you
that
see
actually,
Okay, everything's fine.
only 2 blues died is actually such a good trade for this. I gotta say.
This is fine. It's like the dog in the room on fire.
Yeah. That
still get
actually is
out.
really good. So, I'm glad they didn't do this. Oh, and SBU also did not notice where the hole was. The hole is, by the way, in the weirdest location ever. So I don't blame SBU and Jack. They both missed it, but technically both of them saw it on the come down. It's in the weirdest spot, though.
I don't even remember where it is on the slide.
Spoiler alert, it's by spawn. But that's why. It's like, it's by spawn. Like, who would do this?
They're like behind the ship. Yeah.
Yeah. Jack was hoping for best RNG here, but unfortunately they're not both here. Usually, by the way, that's actually kind of to be expected. Sometimes they're in both of the alcoves, but I don't know. They're often... The chimney room usually has so much score, because look at all these plants. FC is famous for being the only...
I mean, I don't think he did anything incorrect, because, like, he got all the bugs.
Yeah. No, Jack was smart. I just was making a note that, like, with all these plants in this sub-level, I'm not surprised that it's in here. Because plants, unfortunately, in FC1, frustratingly contribute to score in FC1, and in FC1 only. I actually kind of agree with Tower first here, just because you can sort of kind of collect both and not worry about it. It's sort of a less complicated way of playing this layout, and then you can just focus on the treasures.
I didn't see how he dealt with Romeo, but I assume it's not.
He just left the captain there, which I think is the correct move. I actually forgot what Jack did. I think Jack killed it and collected it. Jack is kind of playing race mode in that regard.
All right, pretty good from SBU. Except you can just C-stick into this tape. I don't know what he's doing.
I think he underloaded. I think he underloaded the green by a lot. Like, okay, yeah, okay. Good recognition that something a little bit whack was going on with Olimar's health. Because, you know, like, you have Metal Suit Z in the speedruns, so you have a little bit of health. But it's, but you really can't die, you know?
Yeah,
like,
losing
really
a captain is like a lot of time loss.
Oh, well, like a huge amount. I mean, you technically don't need it. like you technically can just do, because Enter FC you don't need 2 captains for anymore, and you technically can do all of FC with 1 captain, but it's a risky bet, you know.
It just makes things like way more complicated.
Yeah. But technically, I'm now going through, there technically is nothing stopping you from continuing the run if a captain dies. But yes, it would be very sad. Do not kill your captain.
You also lose a captain in like SH, which I've done before.
Alright. Let's see how he plays, let's see how Jack plays 3. I'm really interested in seeing that. So I see the come downs. There's a couple alcoves that I think Jack would like to check first, and that he does kind of follow that intuition.
It's interesting because
because
the
he sees
whole
where the-
geyser were in 2 different rooms. So
See, so I know where. So the ring is in the farthest room, right?
Yeah.
So it's in the big square room. Yeah.
yeah,
The
pretty
quote-
at this
Yeah, pretty
point.
good read. It's helpful because you know where because of where the egg is, you kind of can. Oh jeez. Oh, bull bears are really scary, but he actually was able to only kill blues to it, I think, which is a pretty good deal, all things considered. But yeah, so and then he sees it here, and then he's gonna hopefully deal with the bullmen. Bullmen are hungry, but
Right.
luckily they fall to just a little bit of
I
purple.
guess he did to whistle those purples because they could have passed into the poison. But he didn't
Yeah.
get the surprisingly, even though he did that.
It was a very short whistle. Oh, and even there, yeah, he's doing a good job. Maybe, probably intentionally of keeping the whistles pretty short. Right here, he just has to make sure. But yeah, this was a really good read. So Jack looked around, but he kind of quickly intuited where things were. And now he has time to go back and.
Like
beat
tiny
up
thing I
something.
want to bring up about SBU's enter is that you actually want to approach the Withering Blowhog zoomed in because it started to wander as he approached it, and it can like attack while it's doing that.
Yeah.
And he also opted to kill it instead of putting those purples on the bridge, which lost a little time.
Yeah, you don't ever have to, in payoff that you never, you basically leave right after this, so there's no reason to mess around with the Withering Blowhog. Like, you can keep it alive and it doesn't really change anything.
Yeah, I just wanted to bring that up because Enter FC we usually think of as like a really simple split, but that's like some pretty easy time to lose just from like not paying attention or just like thinking it doesn't matter.
So, fun, interesting fact, because SBU has lost a little bit of purples, like, because you only have to lose, like, 1 or 2 in order to have it happen, the purple flower spawned in one of the alcoves. So that immediately signaled to SBU that there wasn't a treasure there, which I thought was kind of funny.
Oh yeah, that didn't show up for Jack. I'm surprised Jack didn't lose any purples yet.
He hasn't
Honestly.
lost it, yeah, so for those in chat that aren't familiar, there are flowers that only spawn when you have less than 20 purples. And in the route, we grow exactly 20 purples, at least normally. So,
And payoff debt, that is.
And payoff, yes, in this category, for sure. Obviously not for insert other category here, namely all treasures. But because of that, even though you lose 1 purple, it actually, that's normal. It's normal usually even at the top level to maybe lose 1 purple over the course of the entire run, but if you don't, then you don't have those flowers. But in that case, it actually was able to signal some information to SBU, so I thought that was pretty interesting.
That's actually the next best spot in the run to grow purples besides BK4.
It's very hard. Leaf purples just are so bad.
Well, at least you have them in the cave here, which I think makes them better than growing on STX8.
I'm not a fan of. I mean, I think 8. I think 8 is also bad. I think the only benefit to 8
growing at all is slow, but like if you
Yeah.
have to grow, I think it's better to grow on FC1 than on STX8. Because if you grow on 8, you either have to flower immediately or you don't get those purples in FC. Because they're not going to come in with you if they're
SBU basically played this pretty gorgeously, by the way. Jack loaded the treasure with whites before doing this combat, and so that's actually a good example of maybe just the small difference between these 2 runners. Like, just in one example where Jack put the whites on the treasure and then smashed the enemies with the purples, whereas SBU wanted to do it the other way because I think he was less confident that he could do the combat in time. But I think that's just another good way of pointing out sort of the differences between someone who's a little bit more urgent than the other one, where they both did the right thing, but the slight change in order probably netted Jack a lot more time there.
I think it was just the recognition that like Jack thought that the treasure would path like away from the enemies, and SBU probably wasn't sure.
Even if it passed through them, though, you could probably kill them and stun them fast enough with purples that it would be fine. Because, first it has to wait, it has to turn. Like
Probably could, but the small bulb orbs would see you as you're loading the treasure. So, I mean, it's just a safer play, a little bit slower.
Yeah. Woo! A lot of bombs, but Jack was able to go the right direction here. When there's a lot of hallways going to the big room, it's the only time where it makes sense to not do the big room. So if you look, there's like a lot of hallways that were coming from... So on the come down, you can see the hallways that come from the spawn room to the large room on this layout. And if that happens, that's a really good signal that you're going to get this RNG where they're not in the big room. Because the mantra is almost always that you check the big room first, unless the big room has a lot of hallways. And so Jack was actually able to see that on the come down. At least I saw it, so I'm assuming that he did as well. And that kind of influenced his decision. Because as you can see in this big room, it's like almost all hallways. And so all of the alcoves are taken up by either hallway entrances or the exit and the geyser in question. The hole in the geyser in question. So I guess technically they're both exits. Jack at 8086, which is really good. I like kind of what SB is doing here. Except it's a little bit
away from the ship is the thing.
The main thing is, does SB know how they're gonna path? Because I think Jack, here's the thing, that it's if you see, because we're still gonna path through the point. Oh no, they're not. You see, there we go. This is why it's a good plan, because SBU hadn't activated that room.
God,
and so then the Bulbman ate a white, which is sad, but it's dead. So I paradoxically kind of like this. I think how Jack played it was probably a little bit faster, but I actually think that it's fine.
Well, I think the problem with SBU's play is that the Bulbear ended up getting killed in the big room, which was 2 rooms away.
Yeah, the collection was a little small. It was a little slow here, because he's going to want the bodies. Oh, I interrupted myself, actually, but like Jack with 886 is like basically perfect. It means that that he only needs to get like 14 extra Pocos total, which, you know, is basically just, you know, you can get like maybe an anode or something in COS and then clean up the rest in GK. So it's a very comfy number, which is, I think, especially in a race, what he's going for. All right.
Okay, let's see if SBU... Okay, it looks like he's making a similar play, except using these Bulbman first.
I think it's... Here's the only thing, is in this case, he doesn't have to, because the Bulbman are really great, especially if all those anodes were in the corridor. But in this case, he could have probably just brought blues, and it would have been equivalent. SBU is just not going to save that blue, because he shouldn't.
Oh, I mean, using the Bulbman is just, like... for the off chance that one of the anodes wanders, or there's an anode he didn't see or something. On this particular layout. On layouts where there's more anodes, then using the Bulbman is definitely better if you have them.
There's many cases where you'd be using the Bulbman is objectively the right play. In this case, of course, it doesn't really matter because, like, it comes in, but I would argue that it would have been better just to get a couple blues and maybe just, like, if you're going to do...
Definitely would have been better because they're faster because they're all flowers.
Well, right, but of course it collected first, but I think it would have been faster because they would have ran over faster and you could have just thrown like 3 blues
like
on.
I mean...
Yeah. Like, even if you had thrown 3 blues on super quick one running over here, that probably would have collected before the whatchamacallit. Before the star. Whose name I'm forgetting now. I'm normally really good with the treasure names. I'm just, you know, it's kind of long day. Innocence Lost, yeah, that's it, thanks. There was one time...
I don't remember all of them in SC. Usually.
Jack, someone quizzed me in chat, and I think I actually was batting like 95%. When I really focus, I can get it. No, so what Jack did here that's really interesting is... he just kind of left this treasure here, which is fine. He's going to pick it up with whites. And he has to work on the gate anyway, but... I feel like
just on the gate and then loaded the treasure with lights.
Yeah, that's right. Also, like, that treasure was just kind of chilling, where I feel like if you had even just thrown a couple purples on there, it would have already been collected, and you could have just, like, you wouldn't have even had to worry about multitasking it. Gates are hard, especially if they're covering exits, because, like, I mean, it's obviously good. Gate in front of the exit is actually the second best possible place that you can have a gate. First best, of course, being a gate covering nothing important. Because you can get the treasures first, but because the treasures are more urgent, it's possible to actually not prioritize the gate fast enough. You know, like, you want to get the treasures moving, but the gate still takes time to come down, and you need to take that into account.
interesting. He's probably gonna look for the hole.
Yeah. He
And-
knows the hole isn't.
Oh,
Yeah. Oh well. So
There's
it's
no way
weird.
he slow down.
Normally you don't want to. So I agree with this. I kind of like if you're my thing. The reason why I agree with this is you don't even have to throw more, dude. Like honestly, 7 purples will get it down in time. The gates actually don't have that much health, especially if you have to multitask 2 treasures. I was gonna say that like if you enter a room,
one of at least one of the other treasures. So I don't know. I mean, but there is a bunch of anodes in the way.
and oh, this is gateless for treasures, so that's good. I mean, it's not gateless. There's a gate in front of the hole, but this is actually a not unideal situation.
He's gonna have to deal with these anodes multiple times because he's getting the can moving well before the shell.
As long as he just flips them again and keeps them, that's
This
see,
is
that's good.
terrifying, mildly terrifying, but it should be fine.
A little terrifying, but you know you can like kind of long throw these purples and keep them going, and so I think that's like now I would throw and I would run back and deload them or not. I guess. Lucky, you got
he's gotta
lucky
hang-
by the way that there was no. Oh, that's why you don't. I don't know. That's why I would have zoomed in a little bit. But I was gonna say Jack actually did get a little bit lucky. Well, I don't want to say Jack because SB is gonna get the same layout, but there were no snitch bugs in the alcoves, and that meant that he didn't actually have to babysit any of the treasures in the alcoves. Jack with a little bit of white loss here, which is always very sad, but I mean he has a healthy lead, and you know there's basically only a couple more sub levels left to go, you know, so I suppose we'll take it. But I like Eniki's. I think there's often something like, you know, when he walked into the room with the hole, I think he was smart where he was like, I'm already in the room, so I should get them working on the gate, you know? Because I feel like sometimes when people go the quote-unquote wrong way, or the way that they weren't expecting, I feel like it's very common to be like, oh, well, I gotta go back. But I feel like that, you know, you don't wanna waste too much time. I think TC here would be good. I would 100% get TC. I would just kill the hazards on the way and get TC. This is easy clap.
I don't agree.
I don't know. You're sitting here waiting for. I don't know. It'd be
Well,
hard.
you'd have to be sitting there waiting on the other gate and then wait.
Yeah, but you know, I mean, at least
Then
it's
while
happening.
you're
I think
waiting,
it would be close.
you're waiting on a gate either way.
True. You have to, but then while the other gate's coming in, you get
in well before the second gate down.
Normally, I would say iffy. It's iffy, but he's good enough on bugs that I think it would have been. I think it would have been possible. At least I would have been interested.
I
don't know.
but I don't know if it was better.
I don't know. We would have. Well, see, we actually this is set seed, so we actually can ask what the seed is, and I might time it. Like I think that's interesting. Like I'm just curious in the theory. Oh, he gets the sunny cycle. Nice.
Yeah, you could just download the seed and try it for yourself.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I might do it.
Oh, SBU, no, don't take out like 11 reds, dude. It's not worth it.
Yeah, that's one is not worth it. It's awkward because when you only enter with 80, especially if you're used to entering with 90, it does feel very anemic, but it's not worth fixing it. 11 reds also is really annoying because it just messes up your quickly cycling through your Pikmin, which especially if you desperately need to grab a purple to, you know, flip an anode or something, that can actually really hurt. Because it's kind of cool because like, so with tricolor, it's really cool because like, say you need to grab a purple, right? No matter what Pikmin you grab, you are 1 input or less away from holding a purple. You know? Like you're either holding a purple or only 1 left or 1 right will get you to a purple. Which I think is very powerful. Right? Whereas if you have 4 colors, you might be multiple inputs away from grabbing a purple. Which means if you have to panic grab a purple, like that's not good, you know? I like that SBU kind of handled this thing last, but he didn't. Yeah, like he needed to just throw Pikmin onto. He needed to throw purple onto it earlier.
By the way? It's pretty crazy.
But SBU's getting this gate moving faster than Jack did, actually. Also, Bloister decided to kind of shake a little bit early.
There's the strat. You throw and then you whistle.
Yeah.
Jack, pick up the leaf, dude, please.
Mm,
Not like it matters.
leaves
He
aren't
has, like,
coming with him. It's sad, but those leaves just don't come with.
No, he could have had that leaf purple, but he has like 19, so it's like, who cares?
Yeah. He's looking pretty good. He's looking a little bit low on whites just because he's just really killed some on COS3, but overall, I mean, it's...
And he just killed
And
two
those
right
whites
there.
are effectively dead. Rip. Rip to
Well,
those whites.
Well, unless he plants those whites, they are just dead.
I mean, they are, I mean, but they're effectively dead. They're not coming into the last cave of the game.
Well, even in like AT, if you get whites grabbed there, you just lose those 2 whites.
Yeah, if they don't get planted, yeah, that's right. Kind of silly, because that's literally not how it works going cave to cave, but there's something going from above ground to cave that's a little bit awkward.
Okay, SBU is killing these. I don't know what his bug money was like going in, but
I don't think he doesn't
Probably
seem to
just
be yearly collecting them. He's just playing safe.
he realizes that he's gonna be spending a while in this room probably. So
And both treasures are here, so he's not, like, wrong. At least not terribly wrong. So now, of course, if SBU's, yeah, so now SBU's like, okay, I need to get to the hole.
even if there's a snitch bug there, I feel like this is the correct play to just run in and go to the hole.
As long as the problem is I would leave a captain then if a snitch bug I mean, I don't know. Like, I think that's the only reason why it'd be good to go back and check, because if a snitch bug drops, the snitch bug will plant, like, 6 whites. Like, that's the only reason why it's a little bit awk, you know? Like, the snitch bug will actually totally plant. And it turns out that, of course, it is fine. But it's just one of those things where I think the risk-reward is kind of scary. And he's Jack not getting red bugged. Didn't seem to be a layout where you're going to get red bugs, so that's good. And now we're going to move on to 3. We'll see what 3 has. 3 has some wacky variants. It has a pretty stable average, but it can be terribly good or terribly bad. This is one that seems to actually be somewhat serviceable.
Average, but he's gonna get red bugged.
Yep. At least the thing with Set Seed is that, you know, if he's getting red bugged, SBU's getting red bugged.
Well, except for first you, where you got red bugged and I didn't.
Yeah, that's true. Damn. Rip to me. SBU needs to, oh, sorry, Jack needs to, okay, yeah, there he is, yeah. So he's able to nab it. This is slow, but again, this is one of the joys of Set Seed. SBU, I'm a fan.
It's ahead on bugs.
This doesn't take, so if you put all the Pikmin on there, this doesn't take, like, this takes shorter to me than, like, Loister combat to get, and then he has to walk all the way, like, during this entire time.
Well, if the gate was closer, I think it'd be better, but he has to walk over here, and he's gonna be waiting too, so I don't know.
But
like,
he would be waiting, quote unquote, the waiting part, I don't know, you pass right by the other gate, right? So, like, that distance that he had to walk, you have to walk that distance no matter what. But he walked that distance while Time Capsule was getting in. I think I'm gonna time it. I think it actually is less bad than people think. As long as there's a hole in front of the gate, if you have to walk by TC and you have the money, I think it's better than... Aquatic Mine. Just barely, though. I mean, probably, like, within 5 seconds. I think Mine is good.
Yes,
better than, like...
he can't skip Aquatic Mine. That's the whole point of getting TC.
Yeah. No, I think it is slightly fast. I'm convinced that it might be slightly faster than mine. I guess what I was gonna say is that, like, for example, I think that TC would have been better than, like, TST. And a lot of people go for TST more than I think they should. So, I mean, I don't know. Like,
Yeah,
just...
TST is bad.
I mean, TST is bad, but I just think, like, for reference...
You had to get it when you had to kill the Snaggart anyway.
BLL isn't a terribly hard boss, but occasionally, based on the geometry of the legs, it can be kind of hard to get the, it can be just kind of hard to get the right pounds to get everything to work.
SBU tried to be very slick with it. Okay, he still ended up being kind of slick with it.
Yeah, that was good. All things considered. Woo! Alright. I actually was looking at SBU's fight, so I didn't see if Jack got a Moke throw.
I mean, it looks like he did.
Yeah, but he didn't seem to have too much trouble. I know it wasn't. If it was high white goodness, which is frankly, I think, acceptable. It's high invigorator that's really hard. Statistically, getting 1 purple up there in like 2 tries is actually pretty common, especially if you practice. Getting 2 up there when you're under pressure. I mean, in a race, it's one thing where, well, you're under pressure in a race too, but especially if you're like on PB pace, the nerves, it can be
I love
really
using
brutal.
this term statistically for like hitting a purple throw instead of like getting a layout.
Sorry, can you say that again? I didn't really
I
catch
love
that.
using the term statistically for that because like I don't think it makes the most sense. But
I mean, I don't know. I mean, I always think about it where it's like, you know, within someone's skill level, if you try, like, what is your success rate? Right? I mean, you have, Matites. Of course. Jack getting Matites. Matites on GK5 is like death and taxes. They always show up.
inevitable.
Inevitable. Exactly. That's what I'm saying. I am inevitable. Matites on GK5. For sure. For sure. For sure. The problem about SBU bringing all those whites, you want to bring all those, dog. And they're in like this kind of awkward spot. Like, why are they all the way over here, dude? What are you doing? kind of wacky.
It's a safety thing because those eggs sometimes mess with the knapsack.
Yeah. I'm just like, dog. Looked a little bit. I actually wasn't sure of the range. I was worried that some of the Pikmin by the scales might get left behind if he walks too far. You know.
I think you have reasonable enough range. Like, I don't think that's as long as like the distance between where we leave the girdle and the entrance to SMC.
Yeah, it's hard for me to visualize it perfectly, but. And in case Jack is coming up on the last floor. SBU noticing massive lid. SBU's money is of course very good. It's honestly a little bit too good. I think that's like where like for me I would just kind of be like, okay, like SBU's money is good, but like it's so good like maybe it's possible that he could have, you know, been a little bit faster and got a little bit less money, you know? Jack spent a little bit too much time killing all of these things, and it made it awkward a bit. Put everything on this. So I like what Jack does here, where he just, you know, grab. All right, there we go. Nice. There you go. I like how Jack did that. So Jack
notice how Jack is now running to the hole because he knows it's gonna take a while. Alex Kaplan, you should do that.
The only thing is if he needs the bug, you gotta be there to make sure that they're carrying the bug. And then once, the giant bread bug corpse. And once they do that, SBU was very fast at killing this bread bug as well.
Yes.
You see, because it's getting carried now. The giant bread bug corpse. Now, if Jack doesn't need it, then whatever. But I'm just saying that's something that you have to be very careful of, though.
Yeah, but you can just switch back to Louis.
He doesn't need it, so he now actually gets to really run. Whee! No, but I was yeah. So, but what Jack did there also is he knew that the cutscene was gonna interfere with the bread bug grabbing onto the treasure to kill it. So he basically like continually added and whistled Pikmin off of the treasure that the bread bug was carrying, so that it would play a little bit of tug of war in limbo, while he could make sure that the giant bread bug was doing what he needed to do. So I thought that was pretty good. GG's to Jack.
By the way, this floor was very well played from SBU.
Yeah. Oh yeah, SBU very safe but also very fast. He also like really didn't waste any time getting the takedown on the bread bug. Hey Jack, congratulations.
I guess his mic not working, but he is here.
Yeah. So SBU now. Oh yeah,
there were
no Moke throws, which was nice. It's nice when there are no Moke throws. It's pretty easy to play. SBU was really smart putting the purple on there. So the white goodness is one of the treasures that.
Oh wow, all those purples got eaten.
Oh rip!
That was
At least there's not too many floors.
That was
I was
kind of
gonna-
wild. Like they were all running away and they just all got snatched.
Oh no! But it's pretty good because But I was gonna say SBU was really smart putting the purple on the white goodness because he realized that it wasn't max loaded and a bread bug could steal it. But by putting that extra purple, he was basically able to keep it safe. This was very well played by SBU and
He sent everybody onto the bodies and he kept all his whites.
Which is pretty good. I mean, holy bugs, Batman. I don't know if SBU is keeping track of his bugs. Between looking at both streams, I kind of lost track, but he should be. He might be able to skip a small if he's been actually farming this much. Although I will have to check his bug count.
Let me see if my splits will open in time because I have the numbers written down.
Not quite, but close. If he had gotten... That's a thing where he's actually kind of in this unfortunate medium where I think if he got a couple more bugs, he would be able to skip a small. But he's gonna be at this awkward thing where he's like 20 over, right? Which is not quite what you want for... He's like 20 over, which is like super frustrating because it's like...
Well, you could just get 5 anodes and skip a small. Like, he's on pace if he kills all the anodes on 6. He could do that.
Yeah, I wonder if he knows.
And luckily for him, the ham is going to be the last small getting in.
Yeah. So yeah, you only need 35. He's... Let's see. Let me do math here.
Well, this
He's
is
like,
assuming he gets the giant bread bug.
This is assuming he gets the rainbow with you, yeah. I mean, he might just say, screw it, just get all the treasures and not worry about any bugs, which is, like, actually quite valid. But yeah. This was generally well played. You know, this floor always fast and loose. Didn't get Matites, though. A little bit more blessed than Jack. Oh! Okay, SBU's killing purples like he has them. But he luckily only has one more floor, and you don't need that many purples. So... we're playing it out.
I think he got both those bull bears at the start, which means that he only needs 4 anodes now.
Yeah.
Okay, so he is 24 ahead of normal pace for getting all the treasures. For people watching, 97.15 is the number you're shooting for going into 6.
Yeah.
Assuming you get all the treasures and the giant red bug body.
Yeah. That's right, that's right.
Just kill like all of these, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, again, I'm not exactly... I don't know precisely if SBU... Oh, Lord. Well, that makes life easier, potentially. Somewhat.
You can kill like any of them, so it actually makes life harder, but...
No!
But it's fine.
Not like this.
He needs that donut, dude. Get it?
Get the donut.
I think he's gonna get it, because he was C-sticking before the cutscene.
Yeah.
Oh, what? I thought it was the other one, I guess. It was not the other one. Well, that sucks, but it's fine if he kills all those anodes and gets them.
Yeah.
He can still finish without that donut, at least.
Yeah. The donut's a little bit more expensive than the meat. And so that's like the only thing that I have to sometimes potentially take into consideration. That's good, but then like so that's gonna kill the bread bug, and that's gonna collect. And yeah, so I mean he's in a good spot. He's in a good spot.
Yeah, he'll be fine.
Oh yeah. He's gonna finish.
That one bread bug hanging out in the corner.
All right, GG's to SBU. Thwack, thwack. And there it is. The 10K.
Honestly, really good attempt from SVU.
You played pretty well. I mean, you know, obviously there was this large seed disparity, a large, you know, experience gap. And I mean, SBU played pretty well. I mean, he was only there was like some pretty big swings, like SBU killing a lot of his whites on BK6 like lost him a lot of time. But like up to the halfway point, he was only a minute and a half behind. And then unfortunately losses on SBU's end I think really kind of exacerbated it. But SBU put up a really good showing, and this is still winners, so SBU has some more stuff to show us and losers at some point. But yeah, GG's to Jack, GG's to SBU. You guys both did really good.
Yeah, good race. Jack with the 138 IGT. Is that the best race time in this tournament?
Didn't Hemi get a 137? Maybe it was a 139.
No, I got
sub
a
140.
139.
139. 138 is pretty dang good so far. I mean, obviously it's going to be seed dependent, but 138 is pretty dang good. Especially when you factor in the terrible loads. I mean, that's probably actually like a 137. Maybe even more. I mean, maybe like a 136 even. Very good play. I mean, there was a lot of, like, this layout, I also think, really benefited Jack, where, like, these seeds, a lot of these layouts were layouts. Like, I was saying this to Curtis earlier. Like, a lot of these layouts were layouts that really benefited, like, having a little bit more execution in their clever. Like, they're good layouts, but playing it correctly, I thought really what, like, netted you a lot of time. Like, both the threes, the SCX3 and the FC3, those layouts, they were good layouts. Like, they were very good, clear layouts, but, like, you had to play them correctly for them to be good. And so the more well that you can execute that, the bigger disparity that there's going to be. So I think that that's also part of where Jack was able to really excel and why his overall time was very good. Because it's the kind of seed where you could really push your advantage. Well, all right. I think with that, I think we might be done for the day. But, yeah, good job again to all the racers. Everyone who's watching, please stay tuned. I mean, there's going to be more races coming up. I believe there's the next round of losers, and then, of course, there's my match between me and Kemi, which is bound to be probably one of the closest matches so far. Here's hoping. Knock on wood.
Here's hoping. Yeah.
But,
I don't know what the next one is. I know me and TCB is happening on Wednesday sometime in the evening.
so that might be the next one. Kemi and I still need to schedule ours. It's probably not going to be until at least Friday, if not Saturday. Or Sunday or whatever. I mean, we have to talk about it.
But yeah, so I guess we can call it here. I don't
Yeah.
think we're gonna get the runners in voice or anything like that. SPU usually stays muted in voice anyway, so suppose we should
But I
just
think
call
that
it
was
here.
kind of good. Yeah. All right. Bye, everyone.